Hey, this is Jeremy, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the switch statement. If you recall from the last videos with the if-else's that we did, well, with an if-else, we based all of our decision on a true or false statements, and that allowed our branch decision to go from there. With a switch statement, this allows us to make our programs based on a single value. Well, what I mean by single value, it could be like a byte or an int or a char value. So, how does this work? Well, what it does, it's like I said, it's going to take one of those values, a byte, int, or short, or a char. Then the switch statement will evaluate that expression. So like you can't have like your expression be like 45. Or it could be 45. I mean, it couldn't be like Tom's hardware is awesome. That's just too much. It could be a char, like it could be A or 1 or anything like that. So if that expression evaluates to be good, and then there is this thing called a case statement that matches the value, and then the program will execute that case statement. No, that sounds like kind of confusing. You're like, oh, what the heck is he even talking about? Well, let's write a program, and it'd be kind of easier to kind of go through it all that way. So make a switch statement. That's what I'm going to name this program. Okay. Then within here, we're going to go see right click, new class, and we'll call switch. Well, like I told you, I think last video, maybe the one before that, was going to stop typing in the public static void main. Well, you can see it's right here, which is under which method stubs would you like to create. Well, I'm going to do this one because we're getting tired of typing it all the time. So we're going to hit finish. Okay. Everything looks it's the same thing we've been doing, except for this little comment here. Just delete that. Like always, we're going to class header, put in our comments. And while we're here, let's go ahead and import the Java util.scanner class. So we have that because we're going to be actually taking in input eventually. So let's put in our last comment here, which is our main method. Okay, so we have this. Awesome. So let's get the structure going of the switch statement. So it starts off with the keyword switch. This is what's going to evaluate whatever's passed into these parameters here. Okay. Then we have, what I said before, we have these, actually I don't want you tabbed in, these cases which are associated with the switch. So the switch takes in the parameter, it holds it, and then these cases look at that, whatever's in this parameter, it's like, well, okay, this does match me, so whatever it matches is going to execute something. Well, we're just going to have it execute a print statement. Okay, and then if it doesn't match, we're going to have this, what's called default. You can think of default like as the else statement, basically. Or that's the way I look at it. Let's see. So this is just a very basic general structure. So let's go ahead and let's fill in a little bit more. So we're going to need a few variables. We're going to need a string input. That's what we're going to get from the user, whatever they type in. And then we're going to use a char value. The char value is going to be, we're going to call it choice. Okay. And I might introduce something else new to you, but you'll see it here in a minute. So, we also need a scanner. Can't forget that. So a scanner, I'm going to do KB for keyboard. You can use any variable name you want here. I just like KB, because that's just what I was taught in college and it makes sense to me. So, been using it ever since. System in, not out. Okay. So we got that ready to go. So we're going to have a quick statement here. The system.out.println. And we're going to ask them to please enter in A, B, or C. That's all we're going to do. Okay, then once we get this user input, we're going to use our variable input, kb dot, what was it, next line, right? Next line. And now what we're going to do is when we get this value, we're going to put this value inside the choice variable that we made. So we're going to use what is called char at dot char at, and what's it going to do? It's going to grab the character wherever we say to grab it at. So we're going to grab the first character they enter in, which is B0. Because in computer science, I think as I said this before, we count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 all the way up to whatever we want to go to. So if someone types in, say like Jeremy, it's only going to grab this J. Okay. All right. So we're going to use, like I said, the switch statement can only use numbers or characters. So we're going to call the choice variable here, and we're going to see this case is going to validate if it's something they can use or can't use. If they can use it, we're going to print out. What are we going to print out? Something easy. You have entered in the letter A. Okay, so once this is done, we have to use what's called a break statement, and this is really important. You have to have this break in here. If not, it'll do something really crazy. I'll show you what it'll do. But for now, I'm just going to copy and paste, because we all love copy and pasting. And so we'll just change this to B or C. And we got to change the output too, because it doesn't really make sense to print out the same stuff, does it? No, it doesn't. And our default, we'll just say, what should we say, guys? We should say, what? Just because we have no clue what they're talking about. All right, let's shrink this down just a little bit. Okay. So that looks good. I think this should run just fine. So let's run a little program here. No, that's fine. Okay, it says please enter an A, B, or C. Well, I'm going to put in C. What? The reason why I didn't understand because I used a lowercase c. So let's run it again. We'll use uppercase C. What? We'll run the program once again. Type in the, oops, not Control A. Shift A. Here we go. You have entered letter A. Let's try the B. Make sure that works. You've entered B, and we'll try C. You've entered letter C. Okay, awesome. So all of them work. Now, like I was saying before about the break statement, this is like when it hits the A, it executes this line, and hits this break. It says, okay, so we know we're done. So it jumps out of the switch, and it's down here somewhere to run whatever's after it. Well, there's nothing after it. It just stops. So what happens if we get rid of this break? What do you think will happen? Well, some of you might already guess, but we'll do it anyway. So let's run A. You have entered letter A. Okay, that's fine. Let's run this again. Let's run B. You have entered B and C. No, I haven't. I just entered letter B. Well, with the break, like I said, it forces it to stop, and then kicks it back out of the switch. So you always have to have these breaks in here, unless you want different results. If you want, like if it's 1 or 2, it actually prints out one statement or does one functionality or whatever you're trying to do. Or if it equals A or A, B, and C, it's this. You could have like if a case equals A, B, and C, you passed whatever grade. If it's a D or an E, it's like, well, you didn't do so well. Or if it's D, you didn't do so well. E, you failed. Whatever. You kind of get the idea. But if somebody enters in, let's see, like this one right here, I've seen this one happen a lot to a lot of people. Like they forget all the breaks period, and they go through to test it, and they're like, wow, how did I get everything? Well, again, you have no brakes to stop it to kick it back out. So it just went all the way down to the default. Printed that as well. So I'm hoping this was a pretty good tutorial on switch statements. Switch statements aren't that difficult. It's just it takes a little getting used to. So you could do this. You could don't get rid of this, because we're in the next episode or tutorial, whatever you may want to call it, we're going to add some more, a little more functionality to it. We're going to throw in maybe like the if else statement to kind of, we'll do some other stuff with it. We'll turn this into maybe like a grade calculator or something. Still working it all out in my head, but I think it'd be a good little project to kind of bring everything that we did together, because now we're done with the if else and switch stuff. Okay, well, until then, hope you guys have a great day. Make sure you hit like, subscribe. Any questions, comments, leave them down below. Until then, I'll see you guys later.